All right, y'all, it's time for the I do. Let's go ahead and begin with cubes as usual. Okay, so for this one, I noticed there's Venn diagrams going on, the ones with circles and circles. So I'm already thinking about categories. I'm thinking about how to classify numbers, how to classify numbers. So good news, there's really nothing to do with math here. I don't have to solve anything, but I do have to remember something about my rational numbers. Let's start. Which diagram shows the correct relationship among different sets of numbers and the correct placement of negative 126? Okay. This whole thing is a question, so I will underline it. Begins with our W word which and ends with a question mark. And my key words. Okay, so I think I picked up on two different things that we have to look for because I saw the word and. So let's read it again carefully. Which diagram? Well, I know it's a Venn diagram, so let me write that. Shows the correct relationship. I was going to write that word, but they already gave it to me. Among different sets. Okay, what does that mean? Well, I know that there are a lot of different sets we talked about, like categories, right? So I'm going to write categories. And I know that some categories fit into other categories. So, for example, we always draw our own Venn diagram where rational numbers is the biggest because all numbers are rational numbers. Then we have our integers because those can be negative or positive whole numbers. And then we have whole numbers, which can only be those positive numbers and 0 should be in here. And I also know that rational numbers, let's see, if that's all numbers that are not integers, then I know that on the very outside, I should really only have my fractions and decimals and percents. That's where FDP comes in. Okay, so now let me think. Okay, I need to make sure, first of all, that the Venn diagram I choose shows that relationship in that order, with rational numbers as the biggest, then integers, then whole numbers. But I also need to figure out what else. It says the correct relationship among different sets of numbers and the correct placement of negative 126. Well, before I let the diagrams confuse me, I'm just going to put negative 126 in my own diagram. We always start from the smallest circle to do this because, hey, if all numbers are rational numbers, then let's just save that circle for last because we know any of the circles inside rational numbers already imply it's in that biggest set. So I'm going to remind myself to start with the smallest circle. Okay, what's the smallest circle? Whole numbers. What can go in whole numbers? Only positive numbers or 0 that don't have a fraction, decimal, or percent. Well, negative 126 is sure not a positive number or a 0, so I'm going to go ahead and cross out the whole number category. Let's move to integers. Integers, anything that goes in this circle is going to be negative. Okay, so it looks like negative 126 is negative because I see this sign out front, and nice, it doesn't have a fraction, decimal, or percent. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in this second bowl. Okay. So now I'm looking for a Venn diagram that looks exactly like the one I drew. So after I place it, I'm going to eliminate wrong answers to find the one that looks exactly like what I have. Let's start with F. F has whole numbers, integers, and rational, so that looks right. But it puts negative 126 in the middle. Only positive and 0 numbers can go in whole numbers. Let's move to H. I see, it looks like they mixed up integers and whole numbers. So that's wrong. G puts whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. That looks good. And where's that 126? In the integer category. Let me circle that, but let's just check J to make sure. That one has integers in the middle, so we know that's wrong already. All right, so what did I do? I made sure I read the directions carefully. I made sure to draw my own Venn diagram. Then I started with the smallest circle to place the number. And finally, I eliminated answer choices that did not match what I drew. I have to remember that just because negative 126 is a rational number, it does not automatically go in that bigger category. Because if we can put it in an even smaller box, we should.